Hi, I'm Dena Bilbrew, as he said, and I'm a career advisor here at the University of North Texas. And I've been here for almost 2 years advising students in the different colleges. And I'm really passionate about giving people the tips they need to be successful.
Okay, and we'll start off first by asking, what are some things that you think job candidates should know offhand when they're applying for jobs?
It's very important that they have a targeted job search, first of all. So many people just kind of, randomly apply for jobs, which really is a waste of time. You really want to be targeted so that you make your job search count. And that's really going to help you when you're trying to market yourself in your resume. So that's probably the most important thing they need to know.
Okay, so for those students or candidates who are in a particular major, what do you say for them who don't want a job in that particular major but are looking to go elsewhere?
Then they really want to stop and think about transferable skills. Think about what skills that you currently have that are going to transfer somewhere else and be applicable across the board. So if you maybe don't have experience in the field you're trying to go into, maybe do some volunteer work, join some student organizations, and other things that are going to give you that experience that you may be lacking on the work side.
Okay. And a lot of times students are told so many different things about the aspects of job hunting and looking for what to look for in a career. What things do you see from students or those in the field looking for work, things that they should not do on their resume in particular?
Okay, well, first of all, you want to make sure you're very professional. It's part of your first impression, so think about an employer. A lot of times is going to see your resume before they ever even get to meet you. So it's very important that your email address is professional. And it's very important that you only have one email address and one phone number, because they're not going to contact you multiple times because they're very busy. And also, there are some things that you do like having an objective on there. That's pretty old school. We really don't do that anymore. So I always tell people to take that off, start right away with your summary of qualifications, and get right to the point selling yourself. And then definitely don't make your resume too long. The purpose of a resume is to highlight your skills and get the employer to want to call you in for an interview. So you don't have to explain everything on the resume.
So we know you guys want to get all of your experiences out there, and all your experience may fit that job qualification, but be short, sweet, to the point, and get rid of the objectives. Now, for those who are looking to relocate, what type of information would you have for them? Because here in Texas, you pretty much probably deal with people who want to work in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or the Texas area. What about those students or candidates who want to work elsewhere, maybe Los Angeles, Chicago, any of those other major markets?
I suggest they do their research, of course, and start making those contacts. LinkedIn is a great place for doing that. If you know you want to work in a particular field in Chicago or LA, go find people who are actually in those areas and start making those connections. And make sure that whenever you're sending them your cover letter, make sure you express that you're willing to relocate. And be prepared to give an interview maybe over Skype, because a lot of employers are doing that now, online using Skype or a phone interview, and make sure you let them know that you're available to do that, because that'll just kind of put you at the top of the pile.
Okay. So you guys can use your technologically advanced skills to assist you with your resumes and with assisting you finding jobs. And what are some of the common mistakes that you see students or job candidates make when they go to job fairs?
Thinking that they're going to find a job at a job fair. That's the number one mistake. That's not the objective of a job fair. The objective is to practice selling yourself, getting feedback on your resume, and learning more information about the industry. So if you're going there with that objective, then you'll be successful every time. And a lot of people don't really do the research they need to do. They just go and randomly hand their resume out, and that's a big mistake. So if you can find out in advance what employers are going to be coming, do some research and have a plan of action, and that'll really help you, and then you'll be successful every time.
Okay. And with your experience working with numerous employers that you work with, what are some of the things they tell you they really look for, the things that really make a candidate stand out for them?
Overall professionalism, being able to sell themselves, being confident, being able to talk professionally is gonna just make you stand out. If you really have no clue of what the company does or what you want to do, then that's a big red flag. So just that professionalism, being able to sell yourself appropriately, and being able to let the employer know what you can do for them. So a lot of times whenever we go on interviews, we think it's all about us, but really you need to think, how can I help this employer?
Okay. And how far in advance should candidates who are students in school, how far in advance should they start looking at internships, jobs, and different placements like that?
You can do an internship whenever. It's always appropriate to do an internship because it's just experience. And I know nowadays a lot of employers want you to have 2 or 3 years of experience when you walk across the stage. College diploma or a college degree is no longer okay now. You need more than that. So you can start your freshman year, sophomore year doing an internship, and then by the time you get to be a senior, you're prepared. So if you know you're graduating in May and you're looking for a job, you probably want to start January, February time frame because it normally takes a while to go through the entire process.
Okay. And is there usually a particular time of year where employers are looking for more candidates than another?
I wouldn't think so. Of course, they're always looking for great talent, so I wouldn't think one is more than the other. No.
And we often hear the elevator speech, elevator pitch. Can you tell candidates how to construct a 30-second and also a 60-second elevator pitch?
Sure. So you should start with your name. Always start with what you're currently doing. So your first and last name and maybe what job you're currently at or if you're currently in school. And then maybe talk about some of your skills and experience. So if you have so many years of management or you know whatever you've done, talk about that next. And then maybe talk about what your future plans are. What do you like to do in the future? You want to be hired with this company, you want to get management experience, you want to get your master's or whatever, and then put that all into a 30-second commercial. For a 60-second commercial, you talk about the same things in the same order, but just expound on it. So to make sure you capture everything, I always tell people to write it out line by line on a piece of paper and just be very familiar with it because you can use that in a job interview, networking, career fair, or whatever, and also for video resumes. That's something that's becoming popular as well. You can record yourself doing a 60-second commercial and email it right along with your regular resume.
Now we're going to actually talk about the job interview process. A lot of candidates have a lot of trouble getting to the job interview process, but what happens when you actually get there? What can you tell candidates about when they actually get to the job interview process? What things should they do? What things should they look out for?
Well, they have to keep in mind that the job interview actually starts when you walk through the front door. So don't underestimate the receptionist. The person at the front desk could have more of a say in whether you get the job than you may think. And keep in mind, that person may be watching you. So when you're in the lobby, you're not on your cell phone, you're not fixing your hair and doing all those things. You want to be very professional. And a lot of it's, about your first impression. They're looking at how you dress, they're judging your handshake and all those things before they even get to meet you. And so once you come in, make sure you let the interviewer be in control, match their interview style. If they want to be a little bit more laid back, then you're, a little bit more laid back. If they want to be a little bit more formal, then you're formal. But the biggest thing about interviews is to get them to like you. You don't have to be perfect. It's not to say you have to answer every question perfectly, but just be likable. So they'll remember you at the end of the day and maybe want to call you back in and learn more about you.
Okay. And if you tend to get a little nervous for interviews, things like that, is it okay to bring anyone with you? Mom, dad, brother, sister, boyfriend, girlfriend, and have them wait in the lobby for you?
Absolutely not. That's a for sure way to not get the job. You apply for the job. You're the one that's going to be working there, so you need to go by yourself. If you want to have someone drop you off, have them drop you off a little bit down from the job. Don't even let them see you getting out of the car with anybody because you don't want to make them think you have transportation issues or, you're going to have a lot of people coming up here and, all those things. So it's very important that you go on your own and let them know you're independent.
Now you speak about dress. What is an appropriate dress code for men and women?
You want to be conservative. Of course, you're not trying to win a best dress contest or any of those things. They're going to hire you based on your skills and what you bring to the table. So be very conservative. And it kind of depends from industry to industry. What people consider professional dress in one industry may be different from another. So, if you can, observe what the current employees are wearing. If you see everybody there with a shirt and tie and jacket or heels and pantyhose, you probably want to do the same thing. So, you don't have the job yet, so you don't have the luxury of being lax in your wardrobe.
Okay. And when you say being professional, what's one of the things that you hear from employers that students or candidates tend to do that they may not understand as unprofessional?
Just really their language, how they're talking and speaking. You have to be able to use those buzzwords for your industry, to let the employer know that you do know what you're talking about. They have to enjoy talking to you and feel like you can get the job. And if you can't speak for a 30-minute interview professionally, why would they want to hire you and have, talking every day? Definitely, if you're going to be dealing with their customers and their clients, you have to be able to represent the company professionally.
Okay, during the interview process, employers often want to know more about the employee that they're possibly going to hire.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell students and candidates how to address the question of, tell me more about yourself? and how much they should tell and how much they should keep to themselves?
Okay, that's very good because most employers are going to start off with that. And a lot of times they ask that question, just like you said, to see are they going to say something that causes a red flag. And a lot of times they've already read your resume, they know a little bit about yourself, but they're trying to see how well do you communicate and can you talk about yourself. So you definitely want to start off with your first and last name always. Maybe if you're in college, tell them your degree you're getting, where you go to school, and when you're going to be graduating. And then maybe talk about your skills, your experience, if you speak another language, maybe why you chose the field, why you're passionate, why do you think you're a good candidate. So that's the first question, first impression. Start off with a bang, letting them know. And then at the end of the interview, they're going to ask you, why should I hire you? You can just reiterate those same things. So the tell me about yourself question, have a 60-second commercial prepared, and it'll be beneficial for you in the beginning with tell me about yourself and why should I hire you at the end.
Okay. And also, what are some of the things that you should not ask during an interview process?
You should not ask about the salary. You should not ask about benefits or vacation. You shouldn't ask, questions that suggest you don't want to do the job. Like, well, I have to work a lot of overtime. How do you feel about, me calling in sick and things like that? They're going to make them think, why are you asking that? So, you definitely want to try to ask questions to find out information about the job. What will I be doing if I were hired for this job? What would you expect from me in the first 90 days? What do you like about your job? What's the management culture? Those are the types of things you want to ask.
Okay. And when they ask you about strengths and weaknesses, how does one approach that question? Because you want to be honest, but at the same time you don't want to be honest to the point where you possibly lose that job.
Okay, well, when they ask you about your strengths and weaknesses, you should definitely be prepared because you pretty much know they're going to ask you that every time. So, of course, the strengths is pretty easy. People pretty much know what they're good at. And when you think about weaknesses, don't think of it as a weakness. Think of it as an opportunity to improve. So you can say, for instance, if your weakness might be that you're late. Of course, you would never just say, I'm late, because that's what's going to stick in their mind. So you may want to say, an opportunity I can improve is my time management skills. I know it's very important that I'm on time when I'm dealing with clients. So if you were to give me an opportunity to work for you, I would definitely make sure I have a schedule, make sure I stay on top of my deadlines so that it won't happen in the future. So always be honest about what it is, but have a plan to fix it so that the last thing that they hear is that you're working on it and you're going to get better.
Now, even though you may not know, the candidate may not know a lot about the industry, is it okay ever to lie during an interview to say that you know more than you actually do?
Absolutely not. You don't want to do that because it may come back, later on to haunt you because they do reference checks or they may look it up. And then if you say you know how to do something and then on the job they ask you to do it and you can't perform it, then you can be terminated immediately. So, you really definitely don't want to do that and there's no reason to.
Okay. The job interview process can be very tedious, but can you tell students how to respond to the question of salary, negotiating salary?
I'm sure, like I said, you always let them bring it up first because you don't want the employer to think that that's all you're concerned about. I mean, we know you have to have a certain quality of life and, living, but let them bring it up. So what you want to do is you want to do some research. You are not ever walk into an interview not knowing or having some general idea of how much the job pays. So you would just basically tell them, for instance, if you want an accounting job, let's just say, and say, for instance, you need to make about $50,000, then you would say, based on my research, I found that accountants in this area make from $48,000 to $53,000, and I'm willing to negotiate. So basically a little bit below what you really want to make and then a couple of $1,000s above, and hopefully you'll get right to where you want. You would never say I'm open because you don't want to make minimum wage. And if you don't have a clue, they're going to know you haven't done your research and you might just shortchange yourself.
Okay. Now, if you do a phone interview and your company goes through a round of interviews, how long should a candidate wait before contacting the employer to see if they've moved to the next round or not?
Okay, well, initially you want to follow up and send them a thank you for even letting you interview within 24 hours. So right away, make sure you're doing that. And if you've interviewed with more than one person, everybody gets their own separate thank you. So you would never send an email to the main person and carbon copy everybody else. I mean, that's rude. So, but after that, probably wait about a week and follow up and just maybe ask them, where are you in the hiring process? I interviewed for the position. I'm still very interested, and I just, wanted to just reiterate my enthusiasm about the job.
And usually when the final interview comes up, that's when I guess the salary and benefits will come up. So in that final interview, if you don't want the job or have found employment elsewhere, how do you tell an employer thank you for your time and things like that.
You just definitely want to be very professional. You don't want to burn any bridges because you never know. 6 months down the line, you may want to work for them, in the future or something like that. So you just, tell them that I thank you for the opportunity to interview with you. Thank you for extending me the offer, but at this time I'm not going to be able to accept it because maybe I found another, position or something. But just be very professional and make sure that you do, thank them because you want to keep them, in your good graces in case you want to contact them in the future.
Okay, and we talked about first introductions, and what's the proper way to shake someone's hand when you're meeting them for the first time?
Okay, so Kellen, this is the web of your hand right here, and of course this is the web of my hand. And when you want to shake someone's hand, it's web to web, and then you're going to squeeze a little bit more, and it's going to be 1, 2. Okay, so let's try it again. 1, 2, and you're always making good eye contact and make sure you're having a nice smile because that's part of your first impression. So in business or even when you're going to look for a job, handshakes are neutral, gender neutral. So whether you're shaking hands with a male or a female, it's always going to be the same. And it's always firm, not too tight, and then not too soft as well. Right in the middle, nice eye contact with a great smile.
Okay.
Whenever you're looking for a job, you definitely want to use social media because that's also a great place to connect with people in your industry and employers. But you definitely want to keep in mind that just like you're out there on social media, employers are as well. And they're really looking for reasons to disqualify you because they have so many candidates, they have to find a reason, maybe not to contact someone. So when you're on Twitter, for instance, you want to be mindful of your picture, be mindful of your profile, and definitely be mindful of your language because they will look you up on social media. They're going to Google you, and you don't want them to see anything that's going to cause a red flag. So when you're out there, if you're looking for a job, go through and search on that job. A lot of times, most companies will have a Twitter page, a Facebook page, or their own LinkedIn or what have you, and that's the way you can find out about some of their job openings, people that work for the company as well. So the biggest thing, about social media is don't just use it for personal reasons. Also use it for your professional life as well. And sometimes you may have to have 2 different accounts. You may have to have a personal protected Twitter account for family and friends, and then a professional public account so you can start interacting with employers. Well, they can. I mean, it's not anything on the internet is not necessarily 100% private. They can. I know there are some companies that will hire third-party companies to go through and get that information anyway. So, they can, but it's you have to think about, do they really want to go through that extra trouble, I guess you could say, of doing that. I always like to start off with LinkedIn, which I mentioned earlier, which is the #1 way to network these days. So I always tell candidates to go out here, and there is a job tab you can select. And just for the purpose of this, I'm just going to say maybe you're looking for an accounting job. So you can go out there and you can type in accounting, and you can specify by the location. So we will do a Dallas location just to show you, and it'll show you specifically the jobs that are related to that field. And then what you can also do is when you're maybe trying to connect with people, you can go out there to the People tab and click Advanced, and you can go through and search accounting or whatever industry, and then the area. So that will also help you if you're trying to relocate somewhere else. So that's a kind of like a hidden feature a lot of people don't know about. And another website that I've used frequently is Indeed.com. And that's where you can go and type in accounting. We'll just use that as an example, and maybe the location, and it'll have a lot of jobs that will come up as well. And then also Craigslist is a good way to look for a job because you can look all over the country for that as well. So there are some of the ones that I've used in the past. I know a lot of times people use Monster and Career Builder and things like that. They can kind of be overused. So if you use some of the websites that aren't used as frequently, then you may have a little bit more success.